Hey, it's Greg Otten here with MaritimeGardening.com, and today I'm going to put this garden away for the year. This is a garden where I grew potatoes and peas. The pea trellis is still up, but there's really no peas on it. The plants are dead. And the potatoes all need to be pulled, so I thought I'd do a video where I just film the entire, assuming I got enough room on my memory stick there, film the entire putting down of this garden. I'm going to see if I can pull it off in half an hour. Let's see how good a job I can do. So dimension-wise, this garden is 8 feet by 8 feet. It's an awkward size and shape. I really should have made it into what they call a keyhole garden. Perhaps that's a project for next year. But anyway, I've harvested about less than 1/4 of the potatoes in it, so there's a lot left to come out. And we got a week of rain coming, so I thought it was a good day to pull the potatoes out. Okay, I'm going to change the camera here so it's sort of out a bit, and off we go. A couple points I thought I'd make just while I'm in the middle of it all here. I don't know if I got dirt on my face. When you're picking potatoes, and this is for people that are new to this, you want to use a bit of a system. If you notice, I'm going this way, and I'm taking all the mulch and potato plant material and I'm putting it over here. Okay? I'm digging this way and I'm putting mulch on this side. That way you're not going over things twice, and it just makes it easier to get it all done. Also, a note on beds and stuff like that. This bed is about 1 foot from the bed next to it, and if I could do it all again, I'd certainly make it a bit wider, because you just can't comfortably work the garden in a little narrow space like this. I mean, it's doable, but I imagine if I get a little bit older, or if I had any sort of serious mobility issues, it would be a real pain. Of course, if you're young and spry, who cares? But I notice after about 20 minutes working like this, sort of bent half sideways, I don't like it. My body doesn't seem to like it. Anyway, you know, the narrower your walkways are, the more you know, the more you get out of your land, right? The more you get out of your garden. But of course, the more tightly you have to jam your body into these spaces. This bed had seaweed on it last year. You can see the bit of seaweed Very little left, but it had seaweed on it last year. That's seaweed there. And then I put a good foot of mulch over it this spring. It seemed to work pretty well that way. A lot of people ask me if I have voles. Well, look at that potato. What do you think did that? It wasn't a bloody vole, right? I'm certain I have them in this garden. But I think there's enough things holding them in check that they really don't. I mean, you saw all the potatoes I got there, and of all the potatoes I just picked, there's maybe 2 that have that kind of damage. So that's not bad, 2 out of every 30 or something like that. That's not a big problem at all. Alright, so that's one side done. I'm looking at it from the other angle now. And I mean, this was already about 1/3 harvested. And this is what I get out of that one side. And look at the size of these. Right, I don't know what variety this is. I think they're superior. There's a little bit of scab. You can see that's why it's good to get them out of the ground as soon as possible. These soft skin ones, don't leave them in the ground too long. And in an ideal world, you can just leave your potatoes in the ground until you need them. But the bacteria that causes potato scab is in my soil. I think it's just about everywhere. And so a lot of these softer skin kinds seem to get affected by it. I still grow them because I like them. But these don't keep as long when they're damaged like that. You can see this one has a bit of pitting, right? So you wouldn't want to keep that in long storage. There could be something in there. You want to eat those right away. And not all of them are that bad. Some of them, they've got it to different degrees. Here's one with, oh, there's a little bit of scab there. Anyway, it hasn't progressed too badly. Anyway, I'll just eat these. These are the ones I'll just eat over the next couple weeks, and we'll not put these in storage. Right? The red ones seem to be far less affected, so I'll put those more in sort of short-term storage, and these are just to be eaten immediately. But look at the size of them, right? Any question about the relationship between potatoes and seaweed? Man, they love it. If you can get a free source, if you can get at seaweed easily, that's easy to do where I live. In Nova Scotia, where I live, you're never more than a 30-minute drive from the ocean. I can get there in about 10 minutes from where I live, give or take. Alright, so that's the haul, right? A nice, 30 pounds I'd say. There. Another maybe 15 here, right? And all that from one bag of potatoes from from a sponsor of SEC, right? That's pretty good. It took me, this is the garden, if you watched in the spring, I planted with a stick, right? Just a stick in the soil. Last year, I grew beans here, bush beans. And last year this was completely mulched with seaweed. And this year all I did was jam the potatoes in and put hay on top, a good foot of it. And I've literally not done a thing here since. Now I did plant peas down the middle, but I didn't, work the soil or fertilize it or till it or anything. Even last year when the beans were done, I'm going to do the same thing this year. I didn't pull them out of the ground, I just cut them off. And I took the tops, threw them back on top, and added some more mulch, right? So basically everything that came out went back in, sort of thing, except for the parts I ate. And then you plant something different the next year. So if there's anything in there that's bad, it will, it won't affect, you plant a completely different crop, right? So this is a potato. So next year I don't want to plant a tomato or a pepper or anything from that family, that nightshade family, or so I can't remember. It starts with like sun. It's like Solacinae or Solanae, or so I can't remember the. If you look it up, it's, sorry, I sound like an idiot here, but if you look it up, it's something like Sol something. It's sun something, sun plants, right? Translated. Anyway, you don't want to plant anything from that family. Maybe next year I'll plant carrots here, or maybe squash, or just something different. But that's all I did. And I know people are going to say, why don't you plant the potatoes back in the ground? And maybe some of you have done that and it's worked for you. Or maybe you watched Paul Gauci on the Back to Eden film, him show doing that. Well, where Paul Gauci lives, it's a lot warmer than here in the winter. Much warmer. He has a winter, but I mean, he grows cilantro in the winter. Yeah, that ain't happening here. He's still harvesting kale in the winter, based on all of it. I've seen almost every video that Paul Gauci has on YouTube. Love the guy, love his approach, love everything about his way of gardening, and a lot I've done here is modeled after what I've learned from watching his films and just doing other reading of other permaculture types like Sepp Holzer and David Holmgren and Bill Mollison, forgetting other names. I don't mean to offend anyone. Basically, I watched the Back to Eden film, and then that got me interested in permaculture, and I just devoured all the literature and film I could find on the topic and developed my approach, which is, adapted to backyard gardening. I don't have chickens, I don't have ducks, I don't have goats. just a guy with a backyard that wants to get as much food out of his backyard as he possibly can with as little work, and in a way that's as ecologically balanced as possible. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. Why don't I put these in the ground? I've tried it, right? The first time I saw the Back to Eden film, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do that. I stuck them in the ground, they all turned to mush and rotted, right? I do have some volunteers come up every year, so some potatoes survive, but it's a proportion thing, right? The proportion that survives being fall planted isn't high enough to make it worth my while. Why would I do a planting in the fall only to have 80% of it fail the following spring, right? It's just, it's only zone 6, and that's Canadian zone 6. It's different than American zone 6. But it's more than just your zone. It's about how wet it is, how much ice and snow and, rain, freeze, and all that sort of stuff. There's a number of things that have to be right for the potato to make it through the winter, right? And I think here where I am, it's just too wet. It's not that it's not. There are days it gets down to -20, and a potato certainly can't survive that. So you think if you plant it deep enough, it might survive that with enough mulch, right? But then there's also the fact of the snow and the melt and the snow and the melt and the snow and the melt. There's only a certain amount of cold wetness a potato can take before it dies, and I think it just doesn't work here. And if there's someone that's figured out the secret to doing it, other than them just saying, well, I do it and it works, well, that just means it works where you are, because I've done it here lots of times, because I love the idea of it. Just one more thing I don't have to do next spring, and the success rate is not good. I've tried different depths, I've tried different mulches and all that sort of stuff. I honestly think it's just too wet in the winter here. We don't have like, you know, a freeze and it just snows and snows and snows and then a big melt. We have freeze, melt, freeze, melt, freeze, melt, freeze, melt because we're coastal. And it just doesn't seem to work. All right, I just want to speak to that because every time I do a video like this, like, why don't you plant them back in the ground? It's, well, I want to, I'd love to, I love that idea. And if it works where you are, you do that. But it just doesn't work here. And maybe there's other parts of this province where it works, I don't know. But it doesn't work here. I've tried it. I've tried it every which way from Sunday. It doesn't work in a consistent enough way for it to be worth my while, right? 20% success isn't good enough. It's much easier just to, you know, put them someplace cool, store them over the winter, and replant them. Also, since I have a bit of potato scab in my soil, it's not the smartest thing to be reusing potatoes with that. It's better to sort of start with a seed grade potato if you can, right? I mean, sure, you can do it for free. You know, if the world ended and I had to get by with what I have, I would replant my potatoes, sure. But it's relatively inexpensive to buy seed potatoes. So that's what I do. And also this year I got them all for free from Vessie's Seeds. So why not, right? And look at the results. I can't give Vessie's all the credit. My soil is great because I practice permaculture. But I mean, look at these babies, right? That's a big potato, right? And some of these red Norlands are softballs. I love this red Norland potato. That's my favorite one. These are quite good eating too, the Superior. Anyway, I think I've rambled on enough. That's probably my last potato harvest video this year. I got lots more potatoes to harvest. Just there's only so much I can do with them. I do love to plant them and to harvest them. It's one of the most useful things you can possibly grow in a garden. Because you don't have to eat them all. You know, like there's so many things you grow in your garden. You're like, oh my God, what am I going to do with all that? Well, with potatoes, it's like, well, dry them out, stick them in a box, eat them later, right? That's all you got to do. They keep, right? Especially if they, you know, if you plant them a bit later, so you can harvest them in like September, October, when it starts to cool down a bit, and you can find a nice cool place to put them. Anyway, I hope you found that useful. It gave you some good ideas and inspired you to plant more potatoes next year. It's a calorie crop you can't lose within this part of the world. If you did enjoy this, please like, share, subscribe. Check out my podcast, maritimegardening.com. And until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching.